Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am a logical leftist, and this is Logically Left with Jeff Waldorf. And I've got a really, I don't know, the stories for today are interesting, but also, again, disastrous, as usual. We've got food literally rotting that could go to hungry kids. We've got MAGA's conspiracy theories about Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis. Um, mm, mm. Donald Trump is not happy with his recent SCOTUS loss, and he had went on a bit of a posting spree. We've got Elon Musk. Well, yeah, I'm not going to give away that. And then, of course, the state of Georgia is forcing a brain dead woman to be an incubator. So, welcome to the land of the free, everybody, where you will be forced to be an incubator, even though you are technically dead. So, great, awesome, pro-life, everybody. So, but the details of that story are just horrific, and so, of course, I'm going to get into it. Yeah, as usual. But please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very important that you do so. And if you want to support independent progressive media, you can, of course, become a channel member by hitting the join button below, or become a patron, patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or the various different platforms all have ways that you can subscribe to help out the show, help out the channel. With that said, why don't we start out with the disastrous USAID, or I should say the cuts to USAID. All right. It appears that thousands of pounds of food is literally rotting, or will rot quite soon, in warehouses, instead of being used to feed millions of people, thanks to President Donald Trump's cuts to USAID. How much? That's about 60,000 metric tons of food. That is enough to feed 3.5 million people for an entire month, is going bad. And because it's just sitting there. And it's not just sitting in the United States either. According to sources speaking to Reuters, the rations are spread across 4 different warehouses, one in Houston, another in Djibouti, Durban, and Dubai. A lot of D's, a lot of D names there. But anyway, a lot of it's already in foreign countries waiting to be distributed. However, nope, not happening. Can't do it. Can't do it. The food is comprised of cereals, cooking oil, and other things, and is valued at $98 million and was intended for emergency distribution in the hunger-stricken regions, including Gaza, Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Now, unfortunately, most of it will either end up in incinerators because it's bad, it's not fit for human consumption anymore, or become animal feed. Oh, great. Great. Some more examples here. 500 tons of high-energy biscuits in Dubai are set to expire in midsummer, July, while according to one former USAID official speaking to Reuters. So there is time. There is time. But no, probably not. They're going to let it sit there till it goes bad because, how dare we feed them hungry pores? Okay. Again, those biscuits, just the 500 tons of biscuits alone, could have fed 27,000 acutely malnourished children for an entire month. Save the children, but if they're foreign, no, because we don't care at all. This is from the so-called pro-family and even pro-natalist party, okay? because they want people to have more babies. You got to have more babies. We need more babies. We're running out of babies, everybody. Oh, feeding them? Oh, no, we don't do that. No, we don't do that. I mean, again, there's plenty of babies in Africa and the Middle East that are hungry. They're starving right now. But instead, of feeding them, they're black and brown. So no, we can't do that. Ah, yes.
The Republican Party's racist.
That would be why. Look, policy-wise, this is the effect of the USAID's rapid dismantling by the Trump administration and Doge, Elon Musk, all that, as well as a pause on the contracts and funds needed to ship the supplies to where they're needed. Yeah. They know that this food is going to expire soon, and it's not like Americans are going to use it. Okay? We ship out a lot of food, all right? And yet, Doge is sitting on it. In fact, internal proposals to release the food remain on hold, awaiting sign-off from the Office of Foreign Assistance, now headed up by 28-year-old Elon Musk appointee, Jeremy Lewin. If this fetus, okay, this young man, this blunderkin, if he lets this food expire, instead of allowing it to go out to feed hungry children, because it's already paid for, it's just sitting there, right? He's going to have blood on his hands. That's it. If he doesn't already. I mean, look, already the charity Action Against Hunger is reporting that the cuts have cost lives. 6 kids, for example, starved to death in the Democratic Republic of the Congo as a result. Okay, that's it. And more will come. More will starve. That's the result here. In fact, globally, 50% of the therapeutic foods for treating malnutrition in children were funded by USAID, and 40% of the supplies were produced in the United States, according to Sean Baker, Chief Program Officer at Helen Keller International and former Chief Nutritionist at USAID, whose programs in Bangladesh, Nepal, and Nigeria have been terminated. Yes. And again, that also affects U.S. farmers, by the way. These contracts being canceled or paused have made it so that, well, farmers, they can't really send their goods anywhere. No, the government isn't buying that goods off of them. Of course, sending those farms into economic pressure. And so, you might end up having those farms go under, and then they'll get bought up by like BlackRock or Blackstone or Black something. Okay. They'll buy them up. And then these farmers are going to have to go on food assistance that is going to be taken away anyway. So there you go. Disaster. Now, Baker said that the consequences of what's going on here could be 1 million children not receiving treatment for severe malnutrition, which could result in 163,500 additional deaths per year. Look, this is by design. Yeah. I mean, we have a white supremacist regime in charge that is totally fine with allowing black and brown children to starve to death in other countries while encouraging people to have more white babies. Okay. Even promising to hand out motherhood medals if you have more than 6 kids, while kicking out undocumented Americans and documented children, by the way, even with cancer, that again, not white. Now, of course, the right wants to argue that foreign aid, well, we shouldn't be spending so much money on foreign aid. We should be spending that money here on Americans, except that they also don't want to spend it here on poor people. So that kind of destroys their own argument. Okay. Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill would cut about $880 billion out of healthcare for the poor, Medicaid, and over $200 billion would be cut from the SNAP program, which will, of course, increase hunger in the United States. But don't worry, though. All right, that money that's going to go somewhere better, they say, into the rich in the form of tax cuts or subsidies to Elon Musk's companies, contracts, all that. Look, at the end of the day, y'all know that they do not care about families. They don't care about babies. They don't care about anything like that. The only thing they care about is promoting white supremacy. Doge stimulus to the rich. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Moving on. On Sunday, it was revealed that former President Joe Biden is facing an aggressive form of prostate cancer. It is metastasized even to his bones. So that's pretty bad. In a statement from Biden's office, they revealed that he has a 9 on the Gleason score, which runs from 1 to 10. So that deals with the aggressiveness of said cancer. Pretty serious. Pretty serious. Now, that said, for most patients, if you catch it early, you got a 97% survival rate. Okay. Now, that drops if it metastasizes. In fact, survival rates for patients who've had their cancer spread, as in the case of Joe Biden, actually dropped to about 36.2%, according to data from the CDC. Now, Biden's team, he's like, well, hey, look, yes, this sounds pretty bad. However, what we can do is this particular cancer is fed by hormones. So if we do some hormone therapy, there's a good chance that we can extend Biden's life. Still, yikes. Okay, yikes. Now, in addition to well wishes from certain politicians, including, weirdly, President Donald Trump, who posted this, Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery. Wow, that's pretty weirdly nice. I'm just saying, weirdly nice. But okay, great. Now, that said, others in MAGA world started to do what they always do, which is to go into conspiracy mode, because of course, hours after Biden's office made the announcement, Trump Jr. boosted a conspiracy theory, asking his followers on X, quote, what I want to know is how did Dr. Joe Biden miss stage 5 metastatic cancer, or is this yet another cover-up? Wait, do you think that Jill Biden is like doing regular medical checkups on Joe or something? I mean, she's his wife, not his doctor. Yes, of course she might have some insights about that. May have noticed some of the symptoms, right? But again, cancer can hit like that. Now, that said, of course, MAGA world is speculating that Biden and the Democratic Party, they have been aware. Oh my God, he's had cancer must have had cancer for years. Holy crap! And they all knew, so that we could we hid the truth so that Joe Biden could stay in power. Well, that didn't exactly work, now did it? If this were the case, that would be a complete failure, because obviously Joe Biden is not president again. Okay, and it's not because of the tireless efforts of intrepid right-wing reporters who are digging at the truth, just like they dug at the truth with the Clinton body double, because she's actually dead, but then really she's not, because she's got a clone or something. That's, where I'm going with this, right? I'm not saying that there's not legitimate issues with Joe Biden's health, right? But the conspiracy theories coming out of the right wing should be it's not a grain of salt, okay? You should probably just take the whole freaking block. All right? Just a lot of salt, okay? A lot. Amazing. But again, let's be honest, though, about the Democratic Party for a second here. They are a gerontocracy. And they have covered up health problems of powerful politicians. This is true. This is true. And Dianne Feinstein is a great example. Okay? Remember, Dianne Feinstein was doing so badly that she could barely remember anyone's name or where she was. You know, lawmakers would have a conversation or try to have a conversation with her, and she'd be like, "Who are you again? What were we talking about? I don't know where I'm. What's going on? I don't know what's going on." And so, yes, she was propped up by her staffers. And so I understand where some of these conspiracy theories are coming from, even though, I don't think I'm buying into this one. All right. The covering up of the cancer diagnosis. I don't know. I don't know about that one. All right. That said, apparently others do believe that the announcement of the diagnosis was just a distraction from Jake Tapper's book, Original Sin, which did reveal that Biden's aides were at one point concerned about the deterioration of Biden's spine, that they considered putting him in a wheelchair but decided against it. And then, of course, there was audio that was released by Axios of Biden's 2023 interview with special counsel Robert Hur. Now, in that recording, Biden can be heard repeatedly struggling to recall some key dates, slurring his speech, and fumbling through long silences. Look, I'm going to be honest, right? I do believe that Biden has some pretty significant age-related issues with the mental clarity and sharpness. Yeah, sometimes he's there and he's sharp, and sometimes he's not. That said, the right wing takes that and ramps up the nonsense. In fact, with this, Benny Johnson called Biden's bout with cancer, quote, the most dangerous cover-up in the history of the presidency. How? That doesn't make any sense. Okay? And look, he said, you're telling me the best doctors in testing on earth did not find Biden's cancer in all these years of testing? For one, they actually stopped testing for that. Yes, for this particular thing, the prostate, after 70. I don't know why they stopped testing after 70. And perhaps they should test men after 70, especially if you're in an important position like the president of the United States, which means Trump, you ought to get tested, all right, just to make sure. Don't want anything to happen to you, right? But they generally don't, and I'm not sure why. So there you go. But anyway, he says, was every medical report a lie? For how long? BS. Absolute scandal. It's an absolute scandal, everybody, apparently, according to Benny Johnson. They knew. They lied. They hid it for power that they don't have. People need to be held accountable for this. Evil. Wow. Evil? Evil. Benny, you might want to pull back on the caffeine. I know I'm a coffee drinker. I love coffee. All right. Hey, yo, seeing me drink coffee, but you might want to pull back on it. I think your blend is a bit too, I don't know, insane. maybe you stop sprinkling crystal meth into your coffee in the morning, and maybe you won't come up with such insane ideas. Yeah. Oh, speaking of insane, Texas Representative Ronnie Jackson. Ah, yes. Ronnie Jackson, President Trump's former White House physician, who said Trump was in perfect health, right? Said it was unbelievable that Biden's medical team missed the cancer. Well, you have to do specific testing for that. Do you not? Care at the White House should be second to none, he said. The truth is, his physician was more concerned about assisting with the political cover-up than providing world-class health care. What? Laura Loomer has also said that she saw this coming. She claims that Biden has been terminally ill for a long time. It was just kept as a secret. He won't be alive much longer, in my opinion. He and his family are announcing this now to make people feel bad, since there's a book coming out about his mental decline and the cover-up of how sick he has been the last 4 years. Tim Pool said it was unlikely that Biden's doctors missed the cancer if he enjoyed the best medical care and screenings for 4 years. Really, honestly, like, you they stopped testing for this after 70. That's it. I'm just saying. They'd have found it, and it means he's likely had it since before dropping out. Democrats knew. No, the earlier that you catch this, the more likely you have a chance of beating it before it metastasizes. The fact that it's metastasized, again, really shows that how aggressive of a cancer it is. All right. And that's the thing about it. It is when you have an aggressive cancer, it can move fast, really fast. All right. And that's one of the problems here. Now, continuing with the insanity, Trump superfan Bill Mitchell claims that Biden has likely had prostate cancer for 4 to 6 years. Years. What? Years? And they didn't see anything, they didn't find anything, they didn't test for anything. No. Look, I know it's weird for me to say, but you got a bunch of armchair medical experts here on the right wing that are just weighing in. And again, they don't quite know what aggressive means. Okay? The more aggressive a cancer is, the faster it spreads. Okay? And if you catch it late, I mean, what do? They did not catch this early, and now it is not looking great. Okay? Honestly. That said, I kind of doubt that he had it this long, but I don't know for sure. Look, it's not like, though, Biden is without any options. There is chemo, as I mentioned. There's hormone therapy, which they're looking into that. They send the testosterone feeds this particular prostate cancer. And, of course, there's immunotherapy. So there are different options that he has, right? But what I hate is that everything has become a conspiracy theory in the media, in the social media age. And I'm just saying that not everything is. I'm not saying that high-ranking Democrats didn't know that Biden was getting older and kind of doing a little bit of sundowning and shouldn't have run for a second term. I think it was totally a mistake for him to run again. But at the end of the day, I don't necessarily believe that there was, on this issue, a cover-up or a conspiracy. So everybody just kind of pull it back here. All right. And just, besides, at this point, it doesn't really even matter because he's not in power. So, I don't get the freak out. But then again, if MAGA ain't freaking out, then there's something really wrong. Trump was friends with Epstein for years. Well, yeah. Most prostate cancers are slow growers. Mine was. Some are more aggressive. Yeah, and his apparently is quite aggressive. All right. Moving on here. The Candyman, Ronnie Jackson, who said Trump had good genes. Yes, the greatest genes, the best genes. Over the weekend, President Donald Trump lashed out at the Supreme Court after it blocked this administration's efforts to use the Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelan migrants. In fact, he wrote over on Truth Social, the Supreme Court of the United States is not allowing me to do what I was elected to do. You were elected mainly to fix the economy, lower the price of groceries, eggs. Has that happened? No. In fact, you seem to have broken the economy further, with the tariffs and all. We just got downgraded by Moody's. So, I mean, come on. But anyway, his post followed the 7-2 decision from the High Court that temporarily, only temporarily, by the way, halts Donald Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which was infamously last used to intern Japanese Americans into these horrific camps. Yeah, so that's a great legacy to bring back, isn't it? Yeah. Now that same law is being used by Homeland Security to deport people who are accused of being members of the Tren de Aragua gang. And of course, this is all accusations because there's little or no due process involved in these deportations. That's right. Oh, you're a Venezuelan and you've got tattoos? Deported terrorist. Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Now, Trump, of course, on Friday, he raged right after the decision, saying the Supreme Court has just ruled the worst murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and even those who are mentally insane, who came into our country illegally. None of that is true, by the way. Many Venezuelans were actually here legally on temporary protected status. Okay. Are not allowed to be forced out without going through a long, protracted, and expensive legal process. Yes, called due process. This is guaranteed by the Constitution. One that will take possibly many years for each person. I don't see how. And one that will allow these people to commit many crimes before they even see the inside of a courtroom. Total fear-mongering. Okay, nonsense. The result of this decision will let more criminals pour into our country. I don't know how, especially when you claim that you've secured the border. Doing great harm to our cherished American public. It will also encourage other criminals to illegally enter our country, wreaking havoc and bedlam wherever they go. Yeah, okay. Sure, Donald. Let's get you to bed. Okay? Now, then, of course, the following day, Trump shared a post from one of his allies and lawyer Mike Davis, who claimed that the Supreme Court order is nothing more than an illegal injunction on the president. Remember, the Supreme Court is supposed to be a co-equal branch of the government, separation of powers. And of course, you also had these district courts. Now, this actually came from a district court, and the Supreme Court just refused to really hear it, And so they're like, no, we're going to leave in place this lower court's ruling, which again is temporary, and we're going to just tell them to go and debate the constitutionality. We don't want anything to do with this. Okay. Now Davis said that this decision is preventing him from commanding military operations to expel these foreign terrorists. Foreign terrorists. Man, they just really have took the word terrorist and just applied it to brown people. I mean, that's really it. Davis then wrote, the president should house these terrorists near the Chevy Chase Country Club with daytime release. Why there? Well, it turns out Justices John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh both reportedly live in Chevy Chase, Maryland, where the country club is located. That's actually not a bad idea because you know what would happen? Nothing. Nothing at all. These people, very likely not criminals. So, there you go. Again, the vast majority of people apprehended by ICE at this point are not criminals at all. I mean, crossing the border was at most a misdemeanor, all right? And they don't have criminal records, okay? But here's the thing. This ruling, as I mentioned, doesn't even address whether his order invoking the Alien Enemies Act was even constitutional. Just remanded the case back to the Fifth Circuit. That's it. And directed the lower courts to address the constitutionality and other AEA cases expeditiously. So yeah, we don't want to deal with this. All right, we're gonna kick this decision back to the lower courts. Let them decide. Now that appears to be breaking Donald Trump's addled brain, because the way that he sees it apparently is that what are you talking about? You're not going to take up the case, but I installed you. I gave you that job. You owe me. No, not so much, because really, I think the whatever repayment that I guess Trump was expecting, pretty much, if there even was like any sort of deal, I'm not saying that there was, but the way that I would look at it is the Supreme Court has already given you probably one of the greatest gifts that Trump could ever imagine. And that would be immunity. So they saved him from being held accountable for any of the stuff that he did. Prevented him from going to prison. So I don't know. For me, probably look at that and be like, well, you just saved my ass. You just saved my bacon. I guess we're even now. But of course, that's not the way Trump sees it. Trump sees it as, I put you in that position. I put you on the court. And now you must rubber stamp everything that I want to do. Because that's how he looks at it. And so, there you go. And the rage will continue. All right. Moving on. Go to Elon here. Republican insiders are finally opening up about what's going on with the administration and their relationship with chief twit Elon Musk. Well, according to Politico, the GOP operatives are now distancing themselves from the Tesla CEO. Here's why. Very unpopular. At least this is what one Republican operative told Politico. He's finished, done, gone. He pulls terrible. People hate him. Oh boy, I'm sure that's great. That's great to hear. Like, oh my God, people hate me. Wow, that's pretty terrible. In fact, he added, he'd go to Wisconsin thinking he could buy people's votes, wear the cheese hat, act like a 9-year-old. It doesn't work. It's offensive to people. Yeah, but not only that, but trying to buy people's votes, it's kind of illegal. So you don't mention that one, though. But here's the thing. That person is not the only person who's, talked about how Elon is a toxic brand. In fact, a GOP pollster, Frank Luntz, said of Musk and Doge, quote, the public supported the effort to end wasteful Washington spending, but they did not support the way that it was done. His mission to cut the waste from Washington was certainly helpful, but the language he used wasn't. Helpful in what way? I mean, that's my question. I mean, Doge didn't find any waste. They barely saved the taxpayer any money. In fact, they ended up costing the taxpayer. All right. In fact, NPR also reported that the $2 billion that they actually saved came from canceling around 500 government contracts, roughly half of them with the Department of Education, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and USAID, which is, of course, having its own negative impacts on farmers as well as hungry kids overseas. Yeah. And there is, of course, no evidence that any of these contracts that were terminated were due to fraud, waste, corruption, abuse, whatever you want to call it. The reason they canceled them is because they just didn't like the programs. I just didn't like them. Oh, okay, yeah. But look, here's the thing. Elon's real goal was not to save taxpayers' money. Of course not. It's to eliminate the agencies that were looking into his companies. And he has succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. At the Department of Agriculture, for example, President Trump fired the person who was investigating Neuralink, while the Justice Department had dropped its case against SpaceX, and the Labor Department has canceled a planned civil rights review of the automaker Tesla. There's another regulatory matter against SpaceX that has entered settlement talks with the NLRB. All of that has helped Musk and his companies avoid billions of dollars in potential fines for alleged violations of federal law. That $290 million investment into Donald Trump has netted some pretty good returns. That said, it has destroyed Elon Musk's reputation. And the administration is, of course, looking at the polling here and saying, Elon, who's that? Coffee guy? Yeah, that's what he was. He was a coffee guy. Barely knew him. In fact, advisors to Trump, as well as official White House social media accounts, have stopped posting about Elon. This administration has apparently shifted away from Elon Musk. And even Trump hasn't mentioned him since April. That's right. In February and March, Trump posted about Musk an average of roughly 4 times a week since the beginning of April. He hasn't mentioned Musk once. Oops. His job's over. Okay. His job is over. What was Elon Musk's job? To make these devastating cuts to the government and then take the blame when people get pissed. That's it. Look, Politico asked White House representatives about Trump's declining mentions of Elon. And here's what they said. Quote, the mission of Doge to cut waste, fraud, and abuse will surely continue. Yeah. Doge employees who onboarded at their respective agencies will continue to work with President Trump's cabinet to make our government more efficient. Sure. Obviously, absolutely no mention of Elon Musk anywhere in that statement. Of course. And that's because he's deeply unpopular. But here's the thing, right? I think everybody knew that Trump's cuts through Doge were going to be super unpopular. They knew it. And so Elon Musk is being used as scapegoat. That's it. Getting him basically to do the dirty work. Whether or not he knew that going into it, I don't know. But that's what happened. He did the dirty work. And of course, in return, his companies get deregulated. The cases against him get dismissed. He saves a crap ton of money. And then he retreats to the shadows. And that's it. And yes, sure, Elon Musk is a political liability now. And his businesses are not doing very well with the general public. I mean, you could just look at all the protests and the boycotts of Elon Musk's cars, Teslas, all that stuff. But you know what? Elon doesn't need the public anymore. He doesn't need people to buy his cars. He's got billions of dollars in government contracts, enough to sustain his wealth for the rest of his life. So at the end of the day, he is all set. Elon Musk comes out as a winner, while the country itself that has sustained him loses. That's right. All the personal data that he has gathered. That's true. That is very true. All right. Last segment here. We got some good old-fashioned medical tyranny. All right. The state of Georgia is forcing a brain dead woman to act as an incubator until her fetus can be delivered. 30-year-old Adriana Smith, pictured here, was 9 weeks pregnant and began experiencing some severe headaches. She went to the hospital. Hospital staff examined her, and they decided to send her home with some pain meds. Hey, just take some ibuprofen or something. You'll be fine. Now, this, of course, before I move on here to what happened, this appears to be a pattern. If you are a minority, you are more likely to have your symptoms be ignored, especially if it's something serious. Okay. Hospital staff will ignore that and send you home with the minimum amount of care. And that's what happened, apparently, in this situation. Okay. Because the next morning, Smith's boyfriend woke up to find her gasping for air and gurgling. So that's horrible. He called 911. She went to the hospital back and was given a CT scan to find that she had blood clots in her brain. I mean, again, that's horrific. Had she actually received actual medical care earlier, right, those scans, then it is very likely that she would be alive at this point. And so it's a very tragic story of a woman who did not get the proper medical care and is now essentially dead. She is brain dead. She ain't coming back from this. Okay, so yes, she is essentially dead. And again, you could talk about how this is a product of medical racism, you know. And I've seen and heard stories like this before plenty of times where someone will come in with very serious, serious symptoms. They're not given the proper type of care. They're dismissed, and later on, they come back with something far more serious and far more deadly. And so that's one of the big problems here. But that's not all. Okay. Because look, in cases like this, yes, the family could generally have the option to take this particular family member off of life support. But since Georgia is a pro-life state, they have now forced the family to keep Adriana alive, her body specifically, because there's no life left in her. She's brain dead. But since she is pregnant, they're like, well, we got to do the pro-life thing. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, Georgia's so-called heartbeat law forbids the medical termination of a pregnancy after a fetal heartbeat is detected, which can be as early as 6 weeks. There's not even a heart at 6 weeks. It is the cells that will eventually form a heart, so it's like a proto-heart. And so what they really describe with the heartbeat, it's actually just like a flutter, okay? Nonetheless, all right, she is being forced to stay on life support until her fetus is considered to be viable, which, yeah, it could be about 32 weeks of gestation. She's currently 21 weeks now. And now you might think, though, hey, if we save the baby, maybe things will work out. Well, no. Things will likely not work out. Doctors are saying that the unborn child has water on the brain and may end up being born with some severe health issues. In fact, the woman's mother, April Newkirk, told local news WXIA that the child may end up being blind, may not be able to walk, may not even survive once it's born. So all of this could end up with a child that may not even survive. And if that child does, then he's going to need a lot of help, which I'm pretty sure that the right-wing government of Georgia and the Trump administration will likely not provide. as they are cutting Medicaid, SNAP, and other programs that disabled people need. Okay. And so, it doesn't seem all that pro-life to me doing this. I'm just saying. Now, Newkirk told WXIA that it's, quote, torture for me. I see my daughter breathing, but she's not there. Yeah. And that's horrific. And it's even more horrific that the state has literally taken the choice away from the family, away from the doctors, the medical staff, even from the father. He's got no say in this. And while Newkirk stated that the family may not have chosen to end Smith's pregnancy, okay, depending on how it went, right? The fact that they were robbed of that choice has made this situation, which is already horrific, even worse. Quote, this decision should have been left to us. Now we're left wondering what kind of life he'll have. And we're going to be the ones raising him. Yeah. And of course, to add to, the final injury onto all of this, you know who's on the hook to keep this woman alive? Her body alive? The family. The state is forcing this family to pay medical bills that could amount to tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars without a choice. So she said, Newkirk did, that every day that goes by, it's more cost, more trauma, more questions. And as a result, unfortunately, April has resorted to starting a GoFundMe page to raise money for that medical care that the state is forcing on her and her family. So, yeah. Look, I don't know. I think that if the state really wanted to keep her alive, then maybe they should pay for it. I mean, it is their law that is giving this family, or that has taken the choice away from this family to whether or not to keep her on life support. Okay, so the state took away your choice, so I guess the state should pay for it. Okay, and by the way, once that child is born, then anything that child needs should be taken care of by the state. Because again, the state has forced this. So, hey, if you're actually pro-life, Georgia, then prove it. Take care of the child. Give that child medical care and everything that they need for the rest of his life. That's what you should do. Or if you don't want to do that, then maybe you should admit that being pro-life just means that once the baby is born, you stop caring about it. Because that's certainly what it seems like to me. Okay. In the family, yes, the family is responsible to pay for that. So I wonder how, bad it would, how much it would bankrupt this family. It wouldn't be the state that pays it. It would be the taxpayers. Well, and yeah, that's usually how that works out. And if the taxpayers don't like it, then maybe they shouldn't vote for so-called pro-life politicians. Life doesn't end at birth. That's unfortunately the way that a lot of these so-called pro-lifer people see it, though. Once that baby is born, they do not care to take it. They don't want it educated, right? Don't want to pay for that. Don't want to pay for food. Don't want to pay for housing. Any kind of assistance. They don't want to. And so it doesn't really seem like it's pro-life. It's more pro-birth than anything. And that's really my big problem with that. 4 months on life support in the ICU is probably close to $2 million. Yeah, well, I didn't know the exact costs of it because costs vary, and then you might like insurance. Will they cover any of this stuff? So I mean, I made a very very conservative estimate on that one, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does enter into the millions. Literally predicted this and showed my folks. They thought I was crazy about all this. After Roe, they don't question me. Well, yeah, I mean, that's good, but a little late. A little late. Now, people, I mean, look, people effed around in the first Trump administration, and we're all finding out, and we're still finding out. And there you go. And we're all going to continue to be finding out as long as these states are allowed to force women to have pregnancies, to have babies, even if they're incapable of actually making their own decisions. The state has taken over. It is medical tyranny. All right. That's all I got here. VMan29 at 397 with the $2 super chat asked me what is on my proposed left wing project 2029. I mean, I think for one, you're being a bit optimistic there, assuming that a right winger does not win the election in 2028. The Democrats, if they have someone like Gavin Newsom that wins the election, we ain't getting no left wing project 2029. Okay, but honestly, though, to answer your question about some of the policies that I would like to see, obviously, I would like to see Medicare for all. I'd like to see a living wage. That's right, the minimum wage to go up to a living wage of at least $25 an hour, if not more. I'd like to see a federal jobs program. I'd like to see universal child care. And I'd like to see cracking down on this, these companies going and buying up all the single family homes. I'd like to see the crackdown on all that stuff. Again, this is all, stuff that I doubt is going to happen at any point in time. Probably not even my life. Free college, it's another one. Yeah. The elimination of all student debt. Again, this is all just a wish list that I'd like to see that I'm pretty sure will likely never happen. But nonetheless, that's my answer. I'm sure if I really think about it, I could add probably a bunch more. But anyway, that's it. Thank you for that super chat. Thank you for that question. Right now, I think I'm just in too much of like a resist the far right fash mode, than to really like flesh out the stuff that I would like to see. Because I'm just, I don't know. I'm not hugely optimistic about the future of at least those policies. And the best that I could see is, we'll probably end up getting, another corporate Democrat in that is going to not really fix a whole lot of stuff that's been destroyed by Trump, but will just, like allow our country to limp on. Again, I'm not so optimistic here. I'm sorry. All right. Which is worse, bills, college or doctor bills? I mean, they're both pretty bad, but medical bills can get massively, massively expensive real quick. Although for college, can't really discharge those through bankruptcy thanks to Joe Biden. So there's that. All right. So I don't know. The debt you can't get rid of, but the smaller or the massive debt that you can go bankrupt, and going bankrupt is not a good thing. unless you're Donald Trump. Yeah. But yeah, so let's vote for corporate Democrats so that within 4 years a Republican will be elected. That is what they're doing. Unfortunately, I don't see our country getting out of that whole circular mess. But you know, I can hope. I can hope. But the way that the Democratic Party is going right now, I don't see good things happening. All right. Anyway, I know. Sorry, I'm a downer. Is what it is. Thank you for watching the show, listening to the show. Thank you for supporting the show. Please, if you want to continue to support independent progressive media, you can go and do various things. You can hit the join button below to become a YouTube member. You can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf, to become a supporter of the show. And there are different ways. Subscribe on Twitch. And you can become a member, of course, on our Facebook page as well. So all that. I hate the 4-year pendulum of Democrat, 1 year Republican the next. I know. I did too. It just means we're not going forward or progressing at all as a society. And that sucks. Don't I have a BlueSky? I do. I do have BlueSky. It's jeffwaldorf.bsky.com, I think. Yeah, it's on my ticker. Okay. So, yeah, check that out. And you can follow me on social media. Oh, by the way, I do have an announcement. I believe that this Thursday I will be joining, and you know, I'm still waiting for 100% confirmation, so I probably shouldn't say anything, but I'm going to anyway. I'll be, I think, on Leftist Mafia. So, should be fun. Looking forward to it. Be the first time actually doing Leftist Mafia proper. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah. Anyway, love you all. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.